I actually went to a youth group at a church down the street from our house. I went for the wrong reasons, for a girlfriend over there. After we actually broke up, that's when I stopped going to church. That's when I got into drinking at an early age, early teens. From that point forward, I pretty much consider myself as an alcoholic. I got into a couple accidents, DUIs, had to go spend some time in jail for that. And I never learned my lesson. I continued to drink, and actually even more. I could not leave the house without having a beer, without having a buzz. I wanted to get a job that was going to be secure, so I decided to go to the ports as a mechanic. I needed to get some experience. There was a company that they gave me an opportunity to get this experience. When I got into that company, I noticed that there was a lot of drugs involved. There was a lot of methamphetamine involved. And I used to always say I would never do drugs. I would never do hard drugs in my life. There was a certain individual there. I noticed that he was serving everybody there. So with much enticement, I ended up falling for the trap, and I was totally hooked. I ended up getting fired from that job. I lost my opportunity to get hired on the port. There was so much anger, so much hate, so much rage. There was no way to control myself. There was no doubt about it. I was demonically influenced. These drugs made me do things that I would have never, ever done in my life. Ended up moving back to my parents' house. Shortly after me moving in there, everybody else moved out. There was no way that anybody could be around me. I was an angry individual, unpredictable. After everybody moved out, I was there left in isolation. I had so much fear in me, totally tormented with my own mind, I actually planned on hurting the individual that gave me the drugs. And then after I hurted him, I was gonna commit suicide. There was something that was stopping me from walking out that door. But now I know it was not something, it was someone telling me just don't go tonight. So I ended up sitting back down on the chair that night, and I went to sleep. The next day, I discharged the firearm in the back, and the cops raided my house. But I ended up going to jail. I was in custody. I never got a chance to hurt anybody from that point forward. I ended up going to the hole inside there. So while I was in the hole, I finally got time to reflect on what happened. I was sober. It drove me to my knees that night in that cell. I asked God to forgive me of every sin that I could think of. But when I got off my knees that night in that cell, I was absolutely set free. After I got out, I made amends to all the people that I hurt, my family, my father, my dad. We have a great relationship today. My mom, she actually was looking for a church for me. That's when we found Calvary Chapel. And she says, they're baptizing people right now. Me and her, we came to church, and she actually witnessed me being baptized right here. I ended up coming to a testimony night. And I met a brother here. I was telling my testimony, and that I just got out of prison and I'm trying to look for a job. He calls me up, he comes over to me and he says, I have a friend, he needs 2 guys. I said, all right, let's go. So he picked me up and we went over, he didn't tell me the address, and it's right next to the job where I got fired from, where the guy that I wanted to hurt is right next door to that company. We got hired that day. So I ended up seeing, a couple of weeks later, I ended up seeing that same guy that I wanted to hurt. He got an earful of God, and the guy I wanted to hurt, I actually prayed for now. Hopefully he'll be coming to church too sometime soon. But I went into prison denying God. I should say there was no God, but I came out sharing the word of God. The Lord called me, and I just came running to him. He called me out of that darkness and into his marvelous light. The devil is very powerful, he's very real, but God's grace wins every single time. Every single time.